How thrilling it is to announce that today is Tuesday, July 9th, 2013, and that this is Day 9 Daily number 605, where we are definitely going to learn to be a better gamer today. Ooh, baby! Now, before we do, I'm going to turn this fan on because it's so hot. Oh, gosh. Hopefully it's not too loud, but you know what? Freaking hot in here. And thusly it is on. In today's daily, rather than begin with a topic, I want to begin with a story. Once upon a time, you played as Zerg, and you were feeling pretty good about yourself. You'd identified your opponent. He went for a Stargate. You identified that he'd taken kind of a quick expansion. And you were feeling good about yourself. I mean, look at this. 2-2 upgrades already coming. We can see here. We see the infestors have already popped out. We have a fourth base running. Oh gosh, we have these extra 2 gases running. Life is just good in Zerg Town. Getting a 5th base. And then all of a sudden, this happens. I mean, we have our void rays. We have the infestors there to deal with them, so we should be fine. But of course, he picks it off, despite our continued fungal growths, and then just recalls away, and then we're like, okay, well, void rays, you know, alright, like, so maybe I wasn't that well prepared, but you know what, all I lost was the hatch. We've lost some other things due to harassment, but that's okay, let me try to find an angle to push at. But it turns out the Protoss is already getting ready to take yet another expansion, and can do so safely. I mean, we're going to try to hit this other 3rd base, but it's not going to work. This is the story of many Zergs as of late. The natural response to a player who's going air and expand is for you to expand. There's really not much that, in theory, the Protoss should be able to do about it, but not only are void rays a real pain in the ass to deal with, but Protoss has been getting really nice upgrades out of double forges. They've been transitioning into the fairly inexpensive Zealot and Templar as a follow-up. And while we are just sitting trying to stay alive, the huge death doom bringing force of destruction comes in, storms us, kills us, and we lose. This is the story of Zerg in conflict. This is the story of the modern sky toss style, where Protosses are expanding very quickly, getting up a lot of void rays to be able to stay alive, but then quickly putting pressure back on the Zerg and getting more bases. This is one of the saddest stories that has ever been told ever. But that's okay, because we are going to have a happy ending in today's daily. Ah, that's right. We're going to be looking at how Soulkey managed to effectively shut down this very style in the WCS semifinals. He didn't win those semifinals. He barely lost 2-3. This is the Grand Slam that happened in Korea at the start of June. But we did get the chance to see some very impressive play to answer exactly this. In fact, the way that Soulkey did wind up losing was he lost that game, he lost to a DT rush, and he lost to a cannon rush. We won't be going through all that today, but in short, we will absolutely be examining how can you get reads on your opponent based upon these timings. Let's see, which one do we want to do? Oh, it's not the 4th one. Great, yeah, match 3, there we go. We're going to be looking at how can we both stay alive against the huge amount of Protoss pressure that can happen at the start. How can we use reads on our opponents to get a good sense of what he's doing, which of course is going to wind up being the sky toss. And then once we have identified that he is going sky toss, how can we then exploit it, win, and not lose to this sort of annoying void ray harass pressure? Good. In other very exciting news, guess what's happening right after the daily today? That's right, at 9 p.m. Pacific in, let's see, 2 hours from right now. I will be part of the first broadcast, the inaugural broadcast to the SC2L. It is a brand new team league happening in the West that will be going on for about 2 months. The casters will be me, DJ Wheat, In Control, and Artosis. And we'll all be rotating in and out throughout the weeks. It'll be late in the evenings after all the WCS stuff, so it won't conflict with that. And I'll be casting tonight, and it'll actually be on Day 9 TV, both the stream and the YouTube videos for tonight's match. And that'll be happening once a week on this stream. And the rest of the time, go to SC2L.gg. Pretty easy to remember URL if you play StarCraft at all, sc2l.gg for all the schedules and updates and all that sort of jazz. So, first match tonight, going to be Liquid versus Root. Oh, TLO is slated to play against Sage in match 6, so I hope it gets there because I want to cast it. Also, big shout out to the Iron Squid crew, to O Gaming. OMG dead t-shirt, so Imba must be nerfed. Everything about today is great. So let's go ahead and hop into PvZ talk with a little theory. Once upon a time, Heart of the Swarm came out. And on that very day, a Protoss played on the ladder against a Zerg and said, I will build Blinkstalkers and Colossus because I play Wings of Liberty. And his Zerg opponent built any number of Mutalisks at all, and suddenly fear was struck into the hearts of Zerg brothers around the world. Mutalisks, with their fast speed, regen, and relatively cheap cost, destroy Protoss, who are underprepared. Really, it's just the Phoenix that we've been seeing able to deal with this sort of Mutalisk play. So, it is now the norm to open up with Stargate in some way. Most commonly, early expand, get the Stargate, and fortify Phoenixes. And harass, harass, harass. This will both discourage Zerg from going Mutalisks, and if Zerg does go Mutalisks, we already have some preparations in place. And thusly, the modern style of Protoss was born. Open up with one Stargate to prepare for this Mutalisk play, but then begin getting Void Rays, because Zerg does not really have any good anti-air at the start of the game, just Queens. Only once Zerg gets Hydralisks does he really have anti-air. Hydras, Mutas, and Corruptors. Layer tech. So the Void Rays help us get a third base, stay alive, adding on 2 more Stargates. Lots of Void Rays. So suddenly the Zerg has to really commit to some sort of air-killing force. And again, if Zerg does go for Mutalisks, we already have 3 Stargates and upgrades. We're in good shape. If Zerg doesn't get Mutalisks, we have an army that's well-equipped to deal with almost anything. Void Rays are great against Corruptors, they're great against Hydras, and if we throw in a Storm or 2, we're set. So that is the fundamentalness to the modern PvZ. So as we step into this game, this is SOS versus Soulkey from their WCS Korea semifinal match. Oops, speaking of which, I should probably link to the VODs in this thing. Let me make a note. This pen was not meant for writing on skin. God, this hurts. I feel like I'm tattooing myself. Alright, gotta remember to put the VODs up on the website. Cool. So the question is now, how do you beat this as Zerg? We're going to break this into 2 parts. Part 1 is going to be, how the hell do we stay alive in the early game? Not against SkyToss in general, or not against SkyToss specifically, but against Protoss in general. Because we don't know that SOS is going to do this. He could Cannon Rush, DT Rush, Warp Gate. You could just be playing on the ladder, and you don't know if your opponent is going to be going air or not. So we need to make sure we don't over-commit to dealing with that. We need to make sure that we have an answer to everything. God, the back of my hand hurts so bad. Alright, cool. So we're on the Soulkey cam. We're going to be staying on the Soulkey cam predominantly throughout this entire thing. We're going to be talking a lot about timings of things. I mean, just nice things like, in general, at around 140 is when a gateway should go down if he's building it in his main base. Did you know that? Well, I mean, if you open up just like one replay and mentally note it, then your life's better. Okay, so Soulkey is going to be going for the usual 14 pool and then 15 hatch. This is very common. And a reasonable follow-up question is, should we be making extra drones in this position? Should we be just going straight for some lings? A couple of things that are going to be very helpful to us. The fact that this Overlord has thus far not seen any units move out, has not seen any big things move out. It would be pretty hard for a Zealot to pop out right now, because remember, gateways can't really be churning out units before 3 minutes. It's kind of difficult to do that. It's actually generally difficult for anyone to have units before 3 minutes. A useful timing to know. So Soulkey is going to do a rather standard move. All drones and just a pair of lings. We'll note that the Overlords are in fact going straight for where the wall-off would be. So, you know, if you're playing on Belshir Vestige, you know, imagine this is the entrance to Belshir Vestige and here's the expansion. We would scout here, because this is where the wall-off would be. If for some weird frickin' reason on this map you spawned here and this was your natural, you'd want to send your first Overlord to here. Because if you get here and you see nothing, you now know that there's Gateway in main. There's some maps where an Overlord can conceivably come up like this and see the expansion, but don't send it to the expansion, send it to the damn wall-off! And then we'll have an excellent sense of precisely what's up. So upon seeing this, cool, we are all good in the hood, 330, is the standard gateway timing. Now here's a great rule of thumb. Things in StarCraft take a minute to build. I don't care what it is, if it's a structure of value, it's going to be like a minute. Forge is like a minute, Gateway is like a minute, Cybernetics Core is like a minute. Now if you look specifically, yeah, Gateway's like 65, and a Cybernetics Core is like 50 seconds, and a Stargate actually is exactly 1 minute. Just round, man. So Gateway starts at 3:30, which means it's done at 4:30, which means it can Cybercore can start at 4:30 and finish at 5:30, and Stargate can start at 5:30 and finish at 6:30, and then it'll start a Phoenix, and a Phoenix should be able to come out as early as 7. Ha! We now have timing. Now, again, for any of the less experienced players, this doesn't mean expect a Phoenix at 7. It just means you don't need to worry it. You don't even need to begin worrying about it until 7. That's the thing. Yes, and rounding, because math is hard for us. Amen, Threxor. So the Zerglings serve a dual purpose. One is to pick off any probe and spot any pylon. And the other is to deal with a cannon rush if for some reason our opponent is Galsy. So you're kind of noticing that, interestingly, Soulkey is not rushing up into the main. He's not going over here. He's literally sitting at the front. And this is kind of one of these hilarious things that winds up happening when you see players get really good. I think Naniwa is particularly noted for his distinct lack of timing and simply him knowing when stuff, or his distinct lack of scouting, just because Naniwa knows his timing so well. So what is it precisely that Soulkey is scouting right now? He's checking these geysers, and he's just checking the Cybernetics Core timing. Fortunately, we do have both pylons here, so he can't really be having another pylon anywhere else. Looks like he's building his other one. Wow, there. But that's okay. We're just trying to get a sense of the front and the gas. Those are the big ones. Meanwhile, back home, everything Soulkey's been doing has been very, very reeled in. Very calm, very expectable. Look at these Zerglings spreading out to spot the probe. Ooh, cool. So I just want you to note, the little green dotted lines are when he's selecting them. They're selected. We'll see, selected. Soulkey's selecting this quite frequently. Just throwing that out there, just so you know. So other than that, all Soulkey's been doing is building drones. Drones, drone o'clock. By the way, look at that. What do you know? This Stargate, oh, it's 17 seconds in. If I subtract 17 from 547, I get 5:30. And then it should finish at 6:30, and then Phoenix should pop out at 7. There's knowledge being vomited out in a rainbow. Can't see the rainbow because it's green screened out, but, you know, there's a rainbow. Back to the Soulkey cam. So things that we're going to see Soulkey do will be quite expected. Third queen getting built at that expo. Another queen being built here, which could perhaps be argued as the one unusual element. Normally we see players go for double gas at 6 minutes. That is the most common timing. But let's take a look at what Soulkey actually does. I mean, we do see a Stargate, so that does help. But we're also going to see a number of other kind of funky looking things that are going to come out of Soulkey. Right about now is where we're going to wind up pausing. Now, what if, for instance, we had no information? We had absolutely none. Fortunately, oh crap, I hit the B button. I meant to just hit B to open up build. Fortunately, we can always blindly build spore crawlers. We can always get up the Roach Warren, and indeed Soulkey does a lot of that. we're actually going to see Soulkey do kind of a weird move. He's going to go up to 5 queens. He's going to begin spreading his creep out. Actually, maybe he gets more than that. Yeah, he's going to go up to 6 queens. So it's not double gas at 6 or triple gas at 6:30. It's quadruple gas at 7. Yeah. One single zealot winds up pushing us back. Instant response to the lings. Literally, absolutely no lings, absolutely no units before his front gets pushed at. And also, only after 7 minutes do we really need to be worried about any sort of air. And we found the Phoenix. Here. So 6 queens pop out right away for Soulkey. Gets the Roach Warren anyways. One last thing I'd like to note, if for some reason you're at... I can't quite rewind to... I can't quite rewind all the way to 7 minutes, but that's fine. So Soulkey has seen very early gas here. He's at 6 minutes, and already the geysers are going down, which would imply tech. What if you're at 6 minutes and you have no idea what he's doing? This is the nice part about Soulkey's first 2 scouting overlords, is that he can literally just march them right on in and make that sort of adjustment. He has kind of a vague sense of where the pylons are and can poke around there. So we see one Spore Crawler going up here, one Spore Crawler going up here, one Spore Crawler going up here, a Roach Warren going down. This is the sort of just-in-case Roach Warren. Remember that Zealot that pushed these Zerglings back at the start? Nope, Soulkey is going to be shoving back immediately. Now, there's going to be one of 2 basic things that are going on. He's either going to be taking this third, and we'll see it, or we will see nothing here and nothing here. In the circumstance of nothing, we're going to be a little more cautious. We're going to get our Roach Warren speed. We're going to be probably throwing down an evolution chamber around 8 to 9 if we see nothing, because there's a very strong possibility that he is either preparing for some sort of attack, or he's just bad and is taking his third slowly. Pretty much, those are the 2. So we'd certainly be getting our Zergling speed ASAP. We probably would have gotten the Zergling speed a little earlier, just anyways. But here's where things explode into motion. We've identified 2 key pieces of information, Stargate and ridiculously early third. This is the pain in the ass that is hurting so many Zergs right now. Soulkey immediately begins droning like crazy. Immediately gasses. Immediately pushes this Spore Crawler out and this Spore Crawler out. Remember the hauntings of the early voidray play? Instant expand. What can my opponent really do about this? What can he honestly do if I take an expand here and an expand here? The answer is really not that much. I mean, we have, if he decides to attack us, we have the 6 queens and we have some lings and we have a good bit of production coming out. Wow, so far so good. Now, these 2 players have played a lot against each other. They have said multiple times that they know each other's style in and out. So Soulkey is going to know there's a lot of Stargates in production here. He's just going to know this. And, I mean, hell, even you young, budding Zerg player, you know you're either going to be up against a guy with a lot of Stargates or against a guy who's begun transitioning all the way back into ground. Mutalisks just kick ass in this matchup, broadly speaking. They're just great. If you're a Protoss player, you hate dealing with Mutalisks. And the whole reason this style has emerged very popularly is because of that reason. It just shuts down the Mutalisks somewhat easily. So, yeah, it's a perfect time to take a break. So right now we have a rather unusual set of decisions from Soulkey. He goes for double Spire. Yep, there's the other Spire. He goes for double Expand. And he's already powered up to 76 drones. We are going to stop the replay here at 9:30 and then go back and look into it in part 2 and begin to ask ourselves, why is this such a brilliant response against someone who's taking a fast third and very likely going triple Stargate. Before we go to that break, let's go ahead and recap a couple of key bits of information. Actually, I want to go to the... Well, it wouldn't let me go to the 5-minute marks. That's fine. We'll go to the 4-minute mark. We noted very critically that our scout positioning with our overlords allowed us pretty good coverage, but most importantly, we can retreat here and retreat this overlord down here. So that way, at 6 minutes, if we don't have a clue what's going on, we can waltz right in here and get said information. Another very useful little tidbit that Soulkey's picking up in this early stage is that this overlord sees these geysers go down very quickly. Boink. And he even saw that one too. So wow, very early geysers, already in position. If for some reason we didn't know at 6, we could go in. And this is probably the most significant moment in the game, is the 6-minute mark, being able to properly identify what is up. Now that Soulkey has done that, he does this cool many a queen response. He's going to get 6 total. He's going to go quadruple gas at 7, so that way by 8 minutes, his lair is already underway. He has his Spore Crawler defenses. And then one more decision point, the really big one, spots this early third, so we wind up in said position here. Double expanding, double spiring in response. I will note, very importantly, if we were at 8 minutes and we did not scout this, we would very likely be seeing a speed upgrade from this Roach Warren. We would very likely be seeing an evolution chamber go down from Soulkey quite a bit earlier. Hell, we would probably even see a macro hash get thrown down here or here. But he saw this third, and it is combined with the fact that he saw Stargates. That means the opponent is going to be passive for a little while. When we come back, we're going to talk a lot about this brilliant double expo, double spire play. So, stay tuned. Yeah.